It's all over. That's what you said. No. But it isn't all over. It's far from being all over.
Hello, my name's Stephen Noonan, and I'll be playing the First Doctor.
Great, a couple more for luck.
It's like that bit in Adventures in Space and Time.
Yeah.
I was old enough to have seen the Three Doctors at the first time round. Very small, I hasten to add. And there were clips from old stories on Blue Peter, that scene from the Daleks' master plan, and endlessly repeated the scene with the Three Doctors from the Three Doctors. So I was very familiar with his voice. Then it's another thing, being familiar with the voice, and then trying to not just do an impression, because it's when you do an impression of somebody, there's an element of parody, of satire involved. But with something like this, you want to make it sound as close as possible.
A decision was made to recast the First Doctor to coincide with the end of the monthly range. Every Doctor is getting their own distinct range of box sets now, and it was thought that it was time to, perhaps refresh the First Doctor range.
Well, we'll certainly continue to do adventures with David Bradley as the First Doctor. His strength is that he brings something completely new to it, whereas I rather fancied the idea of getting a First Doctor who sounded much more like William Hartnell. We're always looking for ideas that will capture people's interest.
It's a new start of a new era because we have Dodo as well, of which Big Finish hasn't really gone into that era in a big way. Bringing Lauren in as Dodo, along with Stephen as the First Doctor, it gives us a chance to effectively tell new stories in a gap that hasn't really been explored.
The casting of the new First Doctor is an interesting story. We had a number of people who we listened to auditions from, but one of the people we auditioned said, look, I really want this job and I will do the audition, but I think it would be remiss of me not to mention my mate Stephen Noonan, they said, who does a cracking First Doctor. I said, I think you better give me his details.
Stephen is incredible. This is our first day in studio with him, but Stephen and myself have had a lot of conversations talking about his thoughts on Doctor Who in general, and then specifically William Hartnell, who he has studied in extreme detail, his life and his performances as well, and not just his Doctor Who performance.
Nick sent me the extracts from the 60s stories. I put them down on tape, and then I got an email back the next day saying, can you do a Zoom chat on Monday? And now here we are.
It's been my first day working with Stephen, and it has been an absolute joy. He is so funny and so good at what he does. It's just been so brilliant to be working with him, going on adventures with him, and just building that rapport. So we're enjoying sort of getting to know each other, building that relationship, both as actors and as Dodo and the Doctor.
And of course, these are the Dodo stories, a sadly underserved character in the original series. That extraordinary way she was written out in the War Machines, where the Doctor's waiting for her outside the TARDIS, and Ben and Polly come along and tell him she's just decided not to come back. So there's those two extraordinary stories, both written by Ian Stewart Black. So the Savages and the War Machines, and between those two stories, when Hartnell and Dodo come out of the TARDIS at the beginning of the War Machines, we don't know what's happened to them since they say goodbye to Peter Purvis. So there could be, a legion of adventures, and that's where this is.
I remember getting a phone call. It was a phone call from my agent saying that I'd been offered to play the part of Dodo, and because she was such an iconic companion back in day, I just thought this was absolutely incredible. Growing up, Doctor Who was a huge part of my childhood because my dad was a massive, massive fan. So I've seen lots of the original episodes, and I love it now. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I love what they've done with it recently in the most recent episodes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who the new Doctor is going to be.
The people doing the early adventures And Mark Wright and I sort of colluded in getting someone, because we knew she'd be doing the early adventures first. So we thought, who would be really good? And so, Lauren got the advantage of having a go at playing her character before she came to the first Doctor adventures.
So I've got a Dodo, a wonderful experience to be working with Lauren Cornelius, who's playing Dodo brilliantly. There are problems with the Dodo character's accent, which sort of changes in the stories. And Lauren's doing this absolutely superb northern accent, which is just so natural.
I was very keen that these were going to be very traditional First Doctor stories. So we have, although we're across 3 discs, we're telling a 4-part story and a 2-part story, we are sticking to that 25-minute format. I think that's the way to do this, to balance that out and find new stories that will take us forward while maintaining the feel of the past, really.
And there'll be plenty more to come. And I hope very much that Big Finish listeners enjoy this and whatever's to come as much as I have so far.